This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday, June 18th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today, we're talking about an update in the cruise ship industry as well as why there are so many Girl Scout cookies left over. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have content editor Richard Tribou and business reporter Austin Fuller. Thank you both so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Richard, coming to you first for one of your latest headlines. CDC lowers COVID 19 alert level for cruises. That alert level having been at a level 4, reduced now to a level 3. Now, getting into this story, Richard, let's start with the levels and their meanings. What was a level 4, and why is it good that we're transitioning into level 3?
Okay, well, this is good news twofold. Level 4 basically was that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was not recommending anyone to take a cruise of any kind anywhere in the world. So it's basically, they weren't saying you couldn't do it exactly other than, from here from the US, but they were basically saying, it's not healthy, don't do it. So what they have done is they have lowered that down to a level 3, and specifically they have carved out those who are vaccinated and those who are not vaccinated. And in this level 3, they still say it's dangerous, but they're only targeting those people who have yet to get the vaccine. At this point, the CDC is basically saying if you've got the vaccine, you can go cruising. At the same time, they are not saying no to those who haven't been vaccinated. They're recommending against it, but if you do, they have a slew of guidelines that they want people to follow if they do go on a cruise. And that is going to be essential as cruising is set to actually begin this month from Florida and other ports around the US for the first time since March of 2020.
Now, Richard, when you say cruise ships are set to sail from Florida this month, do you mean revenue sales or do you mean test sales?
Actually, so that's interesting for Florida. It's both. Some cruise lines have opted to require all passengers to be vaccinated. And by doing that, as the CDC has similarly given the okay for people who are vaccinated to cruise, they're giving the cruise lines what is known as a conditional sail order, because all cruise lines in the US are currently under this conditional sail order. They get a certificate if they can either prove that they're going to sail with 98% crew, 95% passengers fully vaccinated, as some lines have chosen to do, or they can do these test sailings, these simulated sailings, where they have to prove out all of their COVID-19 health protocols, and the CDC will be on board watching and will sign off whether or not they're safe to sail or not. So some cruise lines, especially those like Disney Cruise Line, which has a lot of kids, they've had to go the route of the test sailing. And Disney is going to do their first test sailing at the end of this month on Disney Dream out of Port Canaveral. And the idea being, hopefully, once the CDC says okay, then they can turn around quickly and start revenue sailing. They don't have dates set yet for when the first sailing for Disney ships will be. But Royal Caribbean is also doing that out of Florida. But other cruise lines, including Celebrity Cruises, which also already caters to an adult group more so than Royal Caribbean or Disney, they are doing their first revenue sailing June 26th, I believe. Yeah, June 26th for Celebrity Edge, whereas the test sailing for Disney Dream is June 29th. Royal Caribbean is doing their first test sailing on June 20th. And Royal Caribbean is actually set to sail that same Freedom of the Seas, this is out of Miami, on July 2nd. And the first of 5 ships Royal Caribbean is going to be sailing, assuming the CDC signs off on all their test sailings in the July and August. While several other cruise lines are set to go also in the July-August range. Carnival is also going to require vaccinations out of Florida. Norwegian, much later, is also going to require vaccinations. So it's basically a choice of the cruise line to go one way or the other. And the CDC is saying vaccines, go for it.
Richard, one last question on this. With the CDC feeling more confident about the amount of people who have been vaccinated, simultaneously, the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, has issued an executive order that prevents businesses in the state of Florida from actually checking vaccine passports. So, how are cruise ship industries working alongside that order?
This is quite interesting because the executive order turns into a law on July 1st, and the law has some teeth. It basically says these businesses that require customers to show proof of vaccination, a vaccine passport, if you will be fined $5,000 per incident. So that if you're sailing with 1,000 people, even on these test sailings, that's pretty pricey. And it is unclear how cruise lines like Celebrity and Carnival and Norwegian will deal with this law. The governor hasn't backed down, but at the same time, there is definitely discussions going on between the governor's office and the cruise lines because they want to get back to business. DeSantis wants them to get back to business, but he still has put his foot down in the sand. So will that mean getting around the law in some way, possibly like checking these vaccines ahead of actually arriving to Florida, or possibly once they're out of Florida waters? Or does it mean that they will just go for it and get fined and then take the state to court? That could play out as well. At this point, neither side is being forthcoming about what exactly is going to happen, but the cruise lines do have these sail dates. I'm quite interested to see what happens once Celebrity actually gets that first vaccination required cruise out in less than 2 weeks from now.
You and I'm sure many other people. Quite an interesting story developing there. And if you're all looking for more details on it, Richard's story is available, of course, at orlandosentinel.com. Richard, thank you so much. Austin, I want to come over to you now for our last story here regarding Central Florida Girl Scouts and how they have about 214,000 boxes of cookies still. Now, getting into this story, Austin, I want to ask you 214,000 at this point. How unusual is that?
Cookie season typically wraps up in March. We're in June now. And like you said, there's approximately 214,000 boxes of those cookies left here among the Girl Scouts in Central Florida. About 30% of the Girl Scouts didn't participate this year. The Girl Scouts said it's a family decision. The pandemic was going on, so it was obviously a safety related thing.
This issue or this surplus that we're seeing here, this is not just a Central Florida thing. We are seeing this across the country as well, right?
Right. The Associated Press reported that there's about 12 million boxes still with two bakers, and then there's another 3 million with Girl Scout councils. The other thing here in Central Florida is they actually ordered less boxes of cookies this year than they did last year.
Wow. So we are, as you pointed out, well past the end of cookie season, and yet we still have this surplus. So what's going to happen to it?
Right. So they're still selling it through the beginning of August. You can go on their website. That's the Girl Scouts of Citrus's website. You can also go to their office on Mills Avenue, and you can buy it for yourself, or you can also pay for cookies to be donated elsewhere.
Seems like it's a pretty good alternative, especially if you got a sweet tooth hankering right now. If you're looking for more information on that story, be sure to take a look at Austin's work at orlandosentinel.com. And just really quick here, for those who are subscribed to the Orlando Sentinel, thank you so much for continuing to support our work and for supporting local journalism. If it's something that you want to get behind, it's really easy to do so. All you need to do is visit orlandosentinel.com/subscribe. But guys, a big thank you to all the viewers and listeners here today, and to Richard and Austin for keeping us informed in what's going on in our community. We'll be back again with more news next week. We'll see you then. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on orlandosentinel.com.